96 people boarded this plane. They were not anonymous. They had names, families, letters already written home. The aircraft took off normally. The engine sounded right. The weather was calm. There was no warning. And then the plane was never seen again. No distress call. No emergency transmission. No wreckage. Not a single confirmed piece. More than 60 years later, Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 remains one of the most disturbing aviation disappearances ever recorded. Because planes do not simply vanish, especially not planes like this one. This was not a small aircraft. It was not experimental. It was not flying a risky route. It was a large four-engine airplane crossing a familiar path. Over the Pacific Ocean, 93 United States Army soldiers were on board, along with 3 experienced crew members. Nearly 100 people disappeared in the middle of the night, and the ocean gave nothing back. The official explanation was short. The aircraft was presumed lost at sea. That sentence has existed for decades, but it explains nothing. Tonight, we are going to examine what is known, what remains missing, and why this case still refuses to close. Flying Tiger Line was not an ordinary airline. It was founded after World War II by former military pilots, men who had flown dangerous missions, men who understood risk. The company specialized in long-distance cargo and charter flights, often for the United States military. They flew routes other airlines avoided, over oceans, at night, far from land. By the early 1960s, Flying Tiger Line had become a trusted contractor for military transport. This was not an amateur operation, which makes what happened next even harder to accept. In March of 1962, the United States was quietly rotating military personnel to Southeast Asia. The Vietnam War had not yet entered the public consciousness, but the conflict was forming. Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 was chartered to transport United States Army soldiers from California to Vietnam. The route was long, but familiar. California, Hawaii, Guam, the Philippines, then Vietnam. Nothing secret, nothing unusual, just another flight, moving history forward. There were 96 people on board. 93 were United States Army personnel. Most were young. Many were in their early 20s. Some had never been outside the United States. Some had never crossed an ocean. They talked about home. They joked with one another. They planned what they would do. We didn't know. After the assignment, they did not know. This flight would erase them. The crew consisted of 3 experienced aviators. They had flown long routes before. Nothing about this flight suggested danger. The plane was a Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation. It was one of the most reliable, long-range aircraft of its time. 4 powerful engines, proven design, widely used. The aircraft had passed inspections. No major mechanical issues were reported. There was no reason to expect failure. On March 16, 1962, Flight 739 departed Guam for the Philippines. This was the last confirmed stop. The weather was favorable. No storms, no warnings. The flight took off into the night. Everything was normal. Approximately 1 hour after leaving Guam, the aircraft made its final radio transmission. It was routine, no distress, no concern, just a position report. Then nothing. Attempts to re-establish contact failed. At first, controllers assumed radio interference. This was not unusual. But as time passed, concern began to grow. Minutes turned into hours. The aircraft did not respond. Flight 739 never arrived in the Philippines. Search procedures were initiated, quietly at first, then urgently, then desperately. The Pacific Ocean is vast and unforgiving. Search aircraft were dispatched. Naval ships joined the effort. They searched along the planned flight path. They searched beyond it. Days passed. Nothing was found. No oil slicks. No floating debris. No life rafts. Even catastrophic crashes usually leave something behind. This one did not. Some search crews later reported seeing a bright flash in the sky. An explosion? These reports were inconsistent, never confirmed, but never fully dismissed. This is the detail that continues to disturb investigators. Aircraft accidents almost always leave evidence. Seats float, luggage floats, fuel leaves a trace. In this case, Sursu 1, there was nothing. Not immediately, not years later. The ocean remained silent. Mechanical failure. Unlikely without debris. Mid-air explosion. Possible, but again, debris should exist. Pilot error. The crew was experienced. No warning signs. Sabotage. Speculated. Never proven. Military secrecy. Whispers. No evidence. Every theory creates new questions. None provide closure. For the families, there were no funerals, no bodies to bury, no certainty. Some waited for years, hoping for wreckage, hoping for proof. Proof never came, only silence. Nearly 100 people disappeared in a single night. No answers were given, and the world moved on. But this case remains, because planes should not vanish, because history should leave traces, because silence is not an explanation. The plane took off. It never landed. And more than 60 years later, we still do not know why. What do you believe happened to Flying Tiger Line Flight 739?